Hey everyone, I'm Roland Toth. The following video features György Kisfaludy, a physicist specializing in time and a pastor. We did not discuss the topics covered in the video in advance. The video ends earlier than expected because, unfortunately, that's all the camera could handle. The topics, expressions, and solutions mentioned in the video do not fit within the current scientific framework. It touches on possibilities, not the current traditional scientific frameworks, and it does not present those. Instead, it offers humanity a chance to survive the coming years, decades, centuries, or even millennia. I hope you enjoy it. So, when did you start working with time and why? Well,
I was about 40 years old or so. Now I'm 80, so this didn't just start recently. Back then, I realized that this concept of space-time, where you have the three vectorial dimensions of space and then a scalar time added to it,
so the coordinate system for you.
wasn't enough. Well, that's nonsense. Either they're the same or they're not the same. So this is where a problem started for me. That time is really in a shaky, uncertain position, and it's really a childish idea about time. So then I started to deal with time with space-time. Well, I worked on it for almost 2 years. I was working in computer science, so I had computer time and everything. And since I was printing out lists with the machine, doing everything, my boss saw that I was working myself to death. And meanwhile, I was calculating, working with the computer, and then it turned out that space-time can only be dynamic, every element of it. But every element is dynamic. People have already tried this, starting to do things not as x, y, z, but as x times c times t, y times c times t, and z times c times t.
Cut.
They tried this approach, adding time to each one, but that wasn't good either. But one thing is certain, for the universe, time as a fundamental element is indispensable. So for each one, everything is dynamic. Everything you see, everything you know, it's all spinning, moving, from atoms to planets, everything. Galaxies, everything spins. Even metagalaxies spin. And meanwhile, there are all sorts of ramblings about time, but they're just ramblings. They're not right. I started this research in a completely amateur way, and what came out was a space-time, a kind of space-time where every element is dynamic, is being created, so it's not there from the very beginning. There's no Big Bang, none of that. Space-time doesn't curve either, that's nonsense. Sometimes they say space-time is fictional, that it's not a concrete thing, and then suddenly it curves as if it were something concrete. So to me, these were all confusing ideas.
What's interesting is that with your theory, if I understand it correctly, you could pretty much explain everything.
Absolutely everything.
Chem, physics, bio.
Chemistry, physics, biology, and everything else, even the origin of the world. This is a absolutely a theory that, yeah, even religion fits into it.
But you know, religion? So religion is an interesting question because so many problems have arisen from religion over the past millennia.
But religion has been completely misunderstood.
Yes, I agree.
Absolutely. Every religion is misunderstood. Everyone thinks theirs is the true religion. Everyone is convinced theirs is the real deal. And meanwhile, whether you believe in God or not, who knows? But if you flip back a bit in your Bible, let's say you flip to the book of John towards the back, it starts like this. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was first God. They started translating it as the Word was with God, but that's not it. I checked the original text, it says was God. And even in the Septuagint, the Greek translation, it's the same. So there's some kind of sneaky misinterpretation here. Later, everything that came to be came from the Word. This is the book of John. You can look at it and wonder, what the heck is the Word? What is the Word? Well, if everything came from it, then let's see.
It's a word expressing action, being, or occurrence.
That's right. In grammar class, God taught us this, so even an idiot knows it. We were already sure about this in third grade, right? In elementary school, not high school, that it expresses action, happening, existence, and the last one is the most important thing is that it expresses existence. Now, it has three tenses: past, present, future. Not this kind of time, but that kind of time. And it's right there in the Bible, which is basically a physics book, only a bunch of simple minded people surrounded it with all sorts of clerical mumbo jumbo, and in the process, they lost the essence. Well, God was in it. How did you mean everything that became? Have you ever seen God? That's what I usually ask my students. And pretty much all of them, 99.9%, say that you can't just see God like that. I say, well, then, the book of John, that's a biblical text, right? The original canonized one, that's all good, right? It says there that everything that came to be came from the Word. You haven't seen anything else but the Word
Yeah, that's right.
because everything came from that. So the table, you, the sun, the stars, everything.
I have a question. Does our consciousness influence our environment or not?
It absolutely influences it, but that's already the 100th step.
Well, the
So, first, we should define what time is, how it works. So, it's not something static, it's not a coordinate system. No, the Romans, the Greeks, and others tried. They were on the right track.
is the substance of existence, whether it's material or not. Tell me.
Its definition.
Energy. Why?
No, there's no energy yet. It's existence itself and the emanation. We can't even call this time. And it's a dynamic, layered, complex structure, not just some kind of coordinate system. That's it. If
We say it's a spatial wave, then what does that mean?
a temporal wave,
A temporal wave
that's all that exists.
is already harder. Yes.
And what's interesting is that every element of the universe is one dimensional. One, that's one dimensional, because time is one dimensional. If everything comes from it, then everything is made up of one dimensional elements.
So basically, from a certain perspective, if we look at it, everything could be described with just one thing. It just has different properties, which we think of as properties.
You're saying it very precisely. That's exactly right, very precisely. So, first of all, if you don't understand time, then you don't understand space time either, because space time isn't a coordinate system either. In fact, space time is created from two tachyons rushing toward each other, and these tachyons move faster than the speed of light
How many times? By how much?
by any amount. So,
So it can't be determined by how much?
it can be 10 times as much, 100 times, it doesn't matter. It can move. It appears in the form of time, from which time is generated. We haven't talked about how physics has completely left this out. They talk about waves. Then, as I mentioned, I saw it in some sources. That is, I only saw it with a few rebels, or I saw it somewhere. But even there, I saw it 30 years ago, or 25 years ago. This is the so-called Muru.org. It's a Jewish mathematician, a physicist's page. They were exploring their own ancient knowledge, the knowledge they had. Time as an essential element is extremely, extremely important since it's the only element in the entire universe. There is nothing else. Not matter, not anything else, just time.
Okay.
After all, the entire universe is dynamic. You can't describe it without dynamics. Even space-time itself is dynamic. It's very
Complicated. So if we say that, just a strange question.
It's all there in formulas, in functions. Everything shows how it comes about. Everything is there. You can find it on YouTube. You understand space-time, and you'll find it.
Yes, I'd like to steer the conversation a bit toward the UFO topic,
Shift it over.
to this topic, because the head of MUFON said, so he's not a believer, he's not Christian, he hardly believes in anything, almost an atheist, yet he still gets questions like these to him, asking what they should do if they encounter a UFO, or if something tries to abduct them, or if they meet some alien that tries to abduct them. But in every case, the abduction stopped when they said the name of Jesus or God. So when they started mentioning their names, the entities disappeared. So I have a question. To me, this seems like something related to time. So if Jesus,
Or do they know who's boss? Is it that simple?
yes.
Simple.
Okay, but what kind of effect can it have on them? They,
They also know who the boss is, because it's their boss too. If space-time itself is the Holy Spirit, because haha, that's the big trick in all of this, that space-time itself is the Holy Spirit. This is something the Jews have. That's why I mentioned the Jews, because I found something there. Nowhere else. There was someone else who said good things. The Russians had it too, and the Americans as well.
The Asians don't. But
But, well, the Asians too. Oh, but actually, the Vedas are full of it. They're full of it. It's full of time structure teachings, and that's good. And all this stuff they explain here about quarks and everything, sure, fine. And about energy, they have no clue what matter is, not the faintest idea what matter is from the inside, how a neutron works. They just write down three quarks and that's it. Case closed. Atomic physics is done. There's nothing more. That's it. It's solved. Like hell it is. There
there's a little problem. The problem is I found an energy phenomenon that gets lost in a hospital. It was called electricity a long time ago, about 40 years ago, and others called it triboelectricity, which is basically the same thing. Polysefco also has some strange solutions. I believe that all of them are one and the same. They all point to the same thing, and I think it can be produced very, very simply. And I believe that physics didn't just overlook it, but is deliberately trying to hide it.
You're saying this very precisely. That's right. So it's now clear that physics is sabotaging itself. So it's sabotaging itself. They don't allow any outside ideas anywhere near physics. It doesn't matter if you're an expert or not, it makes no difference. There's this kind of bubble, and you just can't break into it. And then you're nobody, you're an idiot, you're a dreamer. They call you all sorts of nonsense. But when you show that it works, here it is. It works. I was taught astronomy. I was actually taught by George Coulon himself. The observatory was there at 2 Sanic Street, up here on the side of Gellert Hill on Hegelia as you go up. That's where it was. Not anymore, it's closed now, but there used to be an observatory there, and I used to tinker around, help out with everything. I even gave lectures. I was 14 years old. Astronomers explain that near a black hole, light bends, and for that you need a huge mass.
I prepare something here for you.
On the table, that little gray drain pipe. Go ahead and pick it up. Nothing is fragile. There's no lens inside. But if you turn it toward that vertical thing, it distorts the image. Does it distort it?
Yes.
Hello? Do you know what's inside? You can see it there. No.
In the middle.
Fist 2, I don't know. I'll explain it to you. Listen. So,
What is that?
all right, here you go. See how it looks? We are very sorry for the brief interruption in the recording.
What is this?
Well, take a look. Be careful. It's sharp.
Lead?
This heavy lead, it actually warps the fabric of space. This seemingly insignificant and tiny fragment of lead. You don't need a star-sized black hole or a planet-sized one for this. By the way, do you know how long we've known about this? Wow, 300 years. It's just that no one made a circular hole.
That's really weird.
No one made a circular hole? What?
Even with a horizontal slit, I can see it, just like you said, in the beam path.
They made tubular or horizontal slits, in spectrometers, everywhere. But somehow, no one made a circular hole. And it turns out it has a focal point. The circular hole has a focal point. What? But there's no lens in it. It's
Some kind of toroidal focal point or something?
yes, but it has a focal point. So they really put the brakes on physics and thinking, especially around the time of World War II. It was really held back.
If it's an electromagnetic wave, the theory fails.
Yes, except that light isn't even an electromagnetic wave because it doesn't care about the magnetic field and it doesn't care about the electric field either. I run it through an electric field, nothing. I run it next to a very strong magnetic field, nothing. But it does react to mass. I experimented with it, like, haha, how could it be done? And we published it in English and Russian, so we published it officially
In fact,
in a journal.
we finally officially released it.
Listen, no matter what you publish, it doesn't fit into the sphere,
Sounds good.
right? It doesn't fit. That physics is already done. There's no need to think about it anymore. Now, this little thing, this tiny piece of lead, it changes astronomy because that means matter isn't compact. The reason something falls is because it's not compact. This is plastic, it's not a magnet.
It's not iron, but
They don't know. They have no idea what gravity is. They're trying to find gravitational waves in these 100-kilometer long waves.
Not sure why they started this, despite the reasons.
But I have a question. Oh, I spoke up. Doesn't it fall?
Exam?
Pebble, little pebble. Does it fall?
Won't gases also fall?
Well, you can't have that because if it has mass, it falls because there's gravity. If this falls, that's the Homo Hicksum. There, we can only talk about gigahertz waves.
What's a course for a wave?
Well, that doesn't fit with a wave. It doesn't. So they're not kilometer long waves, only.
You see, the other problem is that they don't even acknowledge longitudinal waves as existent. Did they exist at all?
Well, then sound is nothing, so sound doesn't exist either.
Yes,
Now, what's really interesting is that in ancient times, they called it sound.
not by accident.
Gravitational waves. The water element is time. The fire element is also time.
Uh-oh. I say, why uh-oh?
The water element is a stationary time source with spherical outflows, but it's longitudinal,
Yes,
scalar waves.
yes.
And the fire element, that's the same thing, just moving fast. When it surpasses its own propagation speed, and it can because it has no mass, the time source has no mass. I was 40 years old when I realized that the space-time they teach at every university is not right.
But what was the motivation? How did you sense that it wasn't passive?
I didn't want to die stupid. I was 40 years old and I was gonna die stupid. Well, at that time, I didn't think so. That I'd live to be 80, but rather 60, or whatever the average male lifespan was back then. So,
Okay, but not everyone necessarily thinks, oh, but time is, when here.
no, actually, I got really curious. Not so much about time, but at first, space-time was what interested me. And I didn't even figure out time first, but rather space-time, which is the second step. And when I figured it out, well, that was a big deal. I came up with a kind of space-time that is constantly being generated from the inside. It flows out in layered waves, and parallel universes exist within it.
Parallel universes? How does that follow from it? Can you describe that mathematically now?
Absolutely, I can describe it in every way.
Okay, but if you have, say, n dimensions, how does n plus 1 come from that? How are they connected?
Actually, the universe always remains one-dimensional. That's the crazy part.
About it, actually.
That comes from time, because time itself is one-dimensional. In Minkowski's case, who was Einstein's mathematics professor in Zurich, right? So Minkowski tried to represent time by putting a scalar time, a zero at the origin, a kind of source principle, or a source, and from there a spherical time would spread out. That's what Minkowski did. Minkowski got very close to the right idea. Kaluza and Klein, but especially Klein, came very close to it as well.
So did they mess the whole thing up?
Well, with the Klein bottle, he messed it up. Why? Because he couldn't figure it out, okay? He couldn't figure it out. He was scratching in the right direction because he was trying to figure out the source of time. So basically, he wanted to make a Mobius surface or a Mobius body. The Mobius body isn't like the Klein bottle, it's more like an apple. Actually, time is fundamentally a toroid.
Oh, that's a really good point.
A toroid. Time, but this is the unmanifested time. This doesn't manifest outwardly. It exists, it's already there. So we can already say that it exists, it's there. So the universe doesn't come from nothing, even though people say that a lot. No, it comes from this.
Sorry to interrupt you. Sorry. It's just that the Russians' torsion fields have exactly these kinds of shapes.
Yeah, of course, of course. I mean, I was involved in this too. I even gave a lecture about it there. Yeah, all the big academics were there and, you know,
There was a lot of secrecy about it for decades.
yes, they liked the lecture. They were really impressed. And I gave the lecture in Russian because I was invited to take part in this kind of scientific research. Very.
Several Russian universities were working on it.
I was invited to scientific research as a Gegman, so I am a Gegman. I worked as a Gegman both in the West and the East. When I talked about something, they had already poured a filthy amount of millions into it, whether in dollars, rubles, or whatever. They put in a lot of millions, and there were no results. And then they start twisting your balls, saying, show us some results. If you took all this money, then you'd better deliver some results. They only invite me when something's gone wrong, and I always found the mistake. I said I'd find the mistake within 3 days, and I always found it within 3 hours. That's how it was in Kiev and also out in Moscow. They're not as uptight as the Hungarian Academy of Sciences. No, no, no. They believe in mysticism and all sorts of things, but at the same time, they're academics.
Yeah, I think I mentioned Pavlenko last year. He lives in Ukraine,
Russian.
and he's trying to further develop the torsion field theory or apply it or come up with something about it, make something. He hasn't been reachable for a year,
So for a year, yeah, that's how my friends have disappeared one by one. So
but he's alive. Just
yeah, they're all gone, and maybe he's in a golden cage, but maybe he's already pushing up daisies. So this is a dangerous, slippery path, but
why?
because all those con artists don't want it to come out that they're con artists. So the ones who take the money, heat with oil, sell oil at crazy prices, there's so much energy you don't even know what to do with it. And meanwhile, they're stressing over this stinky oil.
And furthermore, when we take every single one of these various complex factors into full consideration as we slowly move forward with the very next critical steps of this entire developmental process,
No, not at all.
like this, that it can be detected everywhere. So, in physics, biology, chemistry, nuclear physics, this energetics is present. And I think it's one and the same as what you're talking about. So, I don't think it could be much different.
It isn't different. First of all, I didn't clarify physical energy, its capacity to do work. Okay, let's just leave it at that. Ebola, because she doesn't know what light is, it's not an electromagnetic wave, but since that's when they discovered electromagnetic,
We can demonstrate exactly how it works.
there's nothing in this. It's just an empty tube. The end is cut here, across like this, and this is a piece of lead. So this is a piece of lead. It's nothing else but a piece of lead. And I didn't just randomly put this piece of lead in, like trying it out, but it's actually the other way around. But the point is, I wanted to create a circular gap, and I managed to do it. You can see the circular.
No,
You don't need the battery for it. It works without one too. When you look through the circular gap, it magnifies, it distorts,
but
it really distorts the image quite significantly. Visibly, but not in a simple linear way, it actually has a very pronounced spherical distortion. This means that the tiny little piece of lead we just dropped in here at the very end now looks like a massive ping pong ball sized chunk of lead instead of its actual size. It's a tight fit, but you can force it in. The point is, this is a piece of lead about half the size of a ping pong ball. That's exactly the size of fishing sinker I got, even if it wasn't originally like that. Whatever.
sorry, okay, no, never mind.
It's supposed to be a light shield, you know? It was on like this, like this.
Oh, so it doesn't bother you so that the
Of course.
I see it. It looks the same either way.
Yes, but the point here is that with the circular shape, the light bends in such a way that its focal point. Now, they couldn't demonstrate this with a slit, and that's why they couldn't get any further. A circular slit, and there you have it. And the point is that the material on one side of the slit and the material on the other side are very different in density. The plastic tube is lightweight, lead is heavy, and that's why the light starts to bend toward the direction of the heavier material.
How does it know what it needs to adapt to?
Space is curved. Space is curved around the ovulum. It doesn't bend space. That's nonsense. It doesn't bend anything. It is born curved. There's a huge mess inside material particles, but tachyons curve within them, which generate it. Tardions and tachyons generate, say, a neutron atom or a hydrogen atom from the inside. I calculated 740,000 sources. That's how it was. That was already really complicated.
Can you split them?
All these dimensions.
Break it down into as many pieces as you want.
Yes, you can make the function, but that's not the point. The main principle is what matters. They are curving tachyons who create space-time, the light quantum, and alongside the light quantum, the matter particle, and souls. So everything in the universe is created by this. This something, that's the source. That's the word. That's the word in the Bible. Here, people think it's about religion. Of course, they think it's about religion because they're clueless about it. But the problem is, so are the priests. It's very interesting. But I'm a priest. Listen, I tell my colleagues, guys, this isn't right. This isn't right. You translated the Bible. But they say, well, it has to be put in the hands of the people. I say, yes, it has to be put in the hands of the people. But maybe here, the zip should have been, because this is a text that's 25 times bigger, all packed up. And even the packed up text seems to make sense here and there, which they've tried to explain.
Have you tried to unpack this at all yet?
Of course, the function's there. It's in the cabinet, of course. Sure thing. There's a red clock in the cabinet, and behind it, there's this pyramid like thing. If you stick your head forward, you'll see it. That's the decoder.
There are still characters I'm in.
It's a Sierpinski made out of tetrahedrons. Yes, yes. And I found this function solution on the wall of the Agni Alai monastery.
You know what I don't understand is
That if 800 years ago.
these are big things you're talking about.
Yes.
They're so big that women could even use them. Why not use them?
Yes, absolutely. Guys, you can have as much energy as you want, as much electric energy as you want. You don't need anything for it. You don't need anyone. Like begging someone to give us oil, to give us gas, to give us, there's no need for any of that. You don't need anything, and it can be done. We already know how to do it. There's no problem. We already know how to do it. There are 100 ways to do it, but we know how.
I'd like to show you a simple version. This is known as cold electricity. It's also called tribal electricity, and who knows what other kinds of electricity it's called. They only recognize some of its electrical characteristics, but actually, that's incorrect. It's not right. The idea. What I'm showing you here is a very simple little, I think you can buy this on Amazon or eBay. It costs about 50 cents. It's a tiny little converter. It turns DC into DC.
So it's a DC-DC.
Yeah, that's right, but if it's slightly modified, so here on the back.
Technical. You can say anything technical, any kind of electronic stuff or anything else. Feel free, because I'm into it. I get it.
Okay. So it's just that it creates single wire power transmission. Also,
It's something like that. I played around with it.
a lot of people have demoed it, but this kind of energy works completely differently because
Yuri Egeli also did it. Either he did it himself or someone did it for him, but he showed a panel packed with white LEDs.
one,
This big panel was filled with white LEDs and powered by a single circuit board. There is no circuit in Hungarian, so there is no traditional physics, the circle of a circle.
that's not the problem. The problem is that the story resembles your theory of time, so it doesn't have linear effects.
In the end, there will only be one solution anyway.
It doesn't show linear effects. So specifically, if I connect one of the wires to just a piece of aluminum foil and put a glass of water on it, the energy appears in a glass of water. Yes, even through the insulator, even at a voltage of 1 volt.
Yes, but
It lights up.
if you do it, you stick it in the water and the LED lights up.
Yes. But it's just interesting that I haven't been able to fully reconcile it with the Abramenko plug yet. So, Nikola Tesla experimented with creating spark gaps. And with those spark gaps, he sometimes noticed that the spark was white, meaning the energy was completely different. The whole system was different. In terms of resonance,
There is such a thing
yes.
in certain resonances.
Probably the Abramenko plug, so the BAW76 diode and something like that brings this together. Yes.
In certain resonances.
Most likely, the Abramenko plug, so the BW76 diode, does something similar, but this can be tuned, and they notice that it works completely differently. If you put a coil on it, it acts as a capacitor. If you put a capacitor on it, it acts as a coil. It's completely reversed. It has negative resistance, and what's even stranger is that the entropy is reversed. It has negative entropy.
No.
This is why. Is questionable because if the entropy is negative, that means it brings everything together. What could possibly bring anything together?
God.
Well, you see, that is exactly the core of the problem we are facing.
Okay. But even there, it's not the kind of God that people usually imagine for themselves, like some old man with a big beard, very wise, very great, and who knows what else he comes up with. God is very great because he is the universe. He is the entire universe, since everything that came to be came from the Word, as it says in the book of John. Yes.
It doesn't have consciousness.
If so, the whole galaxy too.
It lacks human consciousness. If it had it, we wouldn't even be here.
It has a human-like consciousness, does it? Even a photon has one, see? Now, what I'm saying is even crazier. Even a photon has consciousness. You can have a conversation with it. From this point on, it's madness, madness upon madness.
How'd you check that?
It's a madhouse. Well, I can check it because I've actually talked to these star seraphs. A seraph is a photon, but not just any photon, not an ordinary one. The kind that shines from these lamps here, but a sixth order one. That's space-time, or the Holy Spirit, as it's also called. And the Holy Spirit is a constantly radiating, layered time system, a huge, crazy space-time system. It's already space-time, and it's what makes the existence of material particles and these photons possible, because they can only come into being within it.
You usually talk about these kinds of spatial shapes, about what they're like, so temporal shapes. But then, from a certain perspective, these are basically crystal forms, right? Of course.
Here on the table is this little toy. It's a toy, nothing more than a space-time model representing the 16 parallel universes.
And
It's a folk game.
is this shape created by the propagation of a wave in time?
No, the sources inside it, relative to each other, their arrangement gives the shape. So it's the vertices that define it.
Located at each of its vertices,
There is always a source. So time is generated by a source element, specifically a Mobius source element. That means that in an apple-like surface, there is first a toroid. A toroid is like an inner tube. Everyone gets that. When the hole in the middle is small, so small that it's almost not there. You can barely see it. The hole is so tiny now, almost closed up.
singularity, ask about it. Singularity? Something like that.
It's not a singularity yet, but it will be. And with this, you see, it has a kind of twist in this direction, no matter how small it is.
Well,
After a while, it twists by half. When it twists by half, it crosses over. And at that moment, it starts to duplicate itself in time, in its own time. And this is what manifests. And from this, time arises. A Mobius surface, which is sometimes outside, sometimes inside, outside, inside,
now it's a single wire energetics.
in nature. But
This is its manifested form. Manifested. But
now, please take a moment to notice that you actually have to put in those reverse windings. Does that make sense to you?
tied opposite to each other.
That
Animal 2.
has to be put in. The EGLI type panel also needs that. That was the trick. They ran it into the other room on a single pulling wire and it lit up there too. The LED was on, but it was running on just one wire.
That's not the only problem, yes. So,
Now, of course, you can also generate electric energy very well. You know, Kapanid Z figured it out. Is the Kapanid Z generator good?
yes.
Does it work?
Yes.
I put it together.
The
On the output coil, on a single turn, it was 42 volts.
Now they call these Joule Thief 3-circuit systems. They say we're even stealing energy from the environment, using environmental energy. No.
We're not stealing anything. No, we're not stealing. That's nonsense, because they can't imagine it. They're small-minded, and they can't picture that something could work differently than the way they dogmatically believe it does.
Yeah, so when negative resistance exists, so if I put in a resistor of several mega ohms, so a really big resistor, which should be heating up, it actually cools down. So the currents inside work completely the opposite way.
Yes.
Or rather, a closed circuit. So that in the worst case, nothing happens. I don't know, maybe it heats up or the power source catches fire, meaning the battery or accumulator. In this case, nothing happens, but there is still energy. So those are the questions.
That's why I said the energy wasn't clarified.
Really not, really.
Not. And you can generate electrical energy very well too. But what's the story there? They feed a Tesla through a spark, because that's what they have. There's a Tesla there. There's an upside down Tesla.
In that. Yes.
Because it's grounded at the top, and there are no ferrite rings in the Tesla, but there are in this one. And on the wire running through the ferrite rings, there's a huge time delay, a pulse delay.
Yes, but if you take this out in such a way that you don't need a spark gap, because you replace it with a diode, a fast switching diode that's as fast as the spark gap, then you don't need a spark gap.
I don't know, with a diode. No, with a glow lamp.
I actually tried it.
That's interesting because in these sockets, it's extremely durable. It lights up and works for years, even decades. In such a glow lamp, no current flows, and then physicists say it's useless. But, first of all, you can connect several glow lamps in parallel. That's one thing. You can also make a glow lamp with higher current. But what really happens? The same thing as in a spark gap. Electrons jump from point A to point B. The same thing happens in a spark gap, too. It's just the very essential element of the jump is that it's not three-dimensional. So
You need a higher dimensional or a different dimensional one.
the micro itself is not three-dimensional, but at least four. The point of this jump is that you actually don't need to exert any force. That's the essence. You don't have to invest energy, like turning a generator with a steam engine. You don't need that because the generator can be made self-operating, and it works. The point is, there's a Tesla coil inside it. Tesla already discovered this, it's even written down, but he didn't put it together properly. Kapanadze put it together the right way. He's, I don't know, Georgian or something, not Russian. Kapanadze is some kind of...
Caponidae, maybe there aren't just Joule Thief 3-circuit versions, but the latest Caponidae generator has a super jouling, an improved version. It's interesting. It uses 3 layers of coils.
It would use...
So a single winding on the iron core, that's normal. So it's wound up, ready. The other one is wound in the opposite direction, facing it. The third one is made from a thicker wire and
that's already the output. That one
is the output. And he says that's the wireless output, which you can load in such a way that it basically has no effect on the power source. So
yeah, well, mine is made from a 10-millimeter copper pipe. I can show it to you. 10, like a finger-thick copper pipe, 10 millimeters. Not even this finger. In this 10-millimeter copper pipe, a huge current can flow. Listen, in a fuse, there's a 0.12 millimeter wire that's a 6-amp copper wire. 0.12 millimeter, so a tenth of a millimeter copper wire is inside, and it can handle 6 amps. So how much can a 12-millimeter copper pipe handle? So kilowatts, several kilowatts. It can handle a load. You can cool it like crazy. You can run a boiler off it. Do poor people need this?
it's a good solution.
Somewhere. It's pitiful for poor people. They won't be able to build it. It's not their responsibility.
That's it.
That's how it is. It's the responsibility of the literate. And the literate have betrayed the world. They've sold out. Whether they were threatened or not, that's another story. They've sold out. So, wage. So,
What surprised me was
the perception.
months I was telling stories about interesting things that really work, just like you often talk about such things. And I reached out to a professor at the University of PEX who works with electronics, and he basically told me to get lost, even though I said,
Right.
simply, for a few thousand forints, a university could try it out at virtually no cost.
No, I have a student at the University of PEX at the professor level who used to visit me a lot. And that's interesting because he's already shown me some interesting things.
Can't they talk about this? Is that it?
He can't show it. They'd kick him out, throw him out of the university. He can't show it. I had 2 lectures at the Technical University that caused a huge fuss. There were 2 of them. These were 2-hour lectures at the student dorm.
What set people off so much?
What? Well, first of all, space-time. I said they already messed it up there because time and space-time were already...
Messed up. Nah.
They don't know what time is. They don't know what space-time is. They don't know what energy is or what light is. They don't know what matter is. They don't know what the soul is. They don't know anything. And yet they proclaim themselves to be all-knowing. So, just because they make fireworks rockets, but the Chinese were already making fireworks rockets 6,000 or 4,000 years ago. Now they've just developed it a bit further. Big deal!
What's interesting is that Tesla's radiant energy is basically in the same category, except radiant energy is also something that is called radiant energy. But in reality, it seems more like it's the manifestation of something that actually isn't there.
Yes. I didn't hurt anything. Now nothing happened. No. And this is where the real issue lies. That this is what we need to focus on to make this work. And we will do it. It will work.
I'll give this to you, okay? So this is a very simple little device.
Thank you.
Very much. It can't do much. Actually, you can light up an LED with it from the wire. So that's about it from two AA batteries. But what's interesting about it is that it can transfer energy through aluminum foil into a glass, or even without any loss. Yes.
I know. This has also been associated a bit with bioenergy. They played around with the same thing.
In the end, it demonstrates the phenomenon of superconductivity.
No conduction there, it's just the glass.
No, 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 because longitudinal waves are propagating in it.
Yes, and it works differently, completely differently.
Yes, so a Tesla coil, a flat Tesla coil, there's a device, we have a Russian device, something I distribute, whatever. The point is, it comes with a flat Tesla coil. And next to it, there was a sink made of metal, and the Avramenko plug, a little LED, was lighting up in my hand, and the device's power consumption dropped. The total power consumption of the device was 5 watt hours, and it dropped to 2 to 3 watt hours while the LED was lit in my hand, even up to about 1.5 to 2 meters into the running water. So if I turned on the tap, it would still work.
If you stick the tap into the water, it works there too. And actually, in the whole area, yes. And this is where you need to start thinking about it. Well, for example, right now they're fighting a terrible battle for energy at the nuclear reactors. I said, guys, I would tweak these a bit. You can make electric energy from nuclear power. You can. It's much better than what these hysterical Greens are whining about here. Because yes, it comes with risks, but everything comes with risks. Now, as for coal-fired power plants, though, the Germans went back to him, that idiot Angela Merkel, an idiot, I don't know, a nuclear physicist, so an idiot. She totally freaked out when Fukushima happened. She got so scared, she wanted to dismantle every nuclear reactor, shut everything down. She was that terrified. But
She didn't think about the fact that this isn't Japan, so there aren't as many fault lines, and not only,
did she not think about that, but also about what would happen to the industry?
well, yeah. Now,
They're buying electricity from the French at huge markups, repeatedly.
that's protective, right?
So now they're really competitive. Yeah, that's how the German economy went down the drain. Just like that. Poof.
That,
Now we're seeing Volkswagen shutting down, a bunch of things shutting down. They're closing a lot of Volkswagen factories because people aren't buying the cars. But
but how can the energy sector actually adapt to consumers? Because it seems like the consumer is not only adapting in terms of frequency, but also in voltage and everything. They're fully adapting to it.
there's also a nuclear research institute here in Bratislava. There are Hungarians working there too. After all, Bratislava is a Hungarian city, and there are a lot of Hungarians there. And this researcher, he's a Russian who runs the place. And one of the Hungarians showed him my article, the one I published in UFO magazine, saying, look, here he wrote about your secret research. So I called him up on the phone in Russian, told him, all right, come tomorrow. Okay, завтра будет, normal. And then he came. He came along with his colleagues, an interpreter, and everything. And the point is, they use ultrasound for material destruction, cavitation. And in material destruction, you can even destroy radioactive crap. I mean, you couldn't get rid of all that stored junk like the spent fuel rods. It works with anything. Just imagine, even with iron powder. You don't need a watch for it.
You said something really interesting that stuck with me. I can't remember which episode it was in. You said that light decreases the level of radioactivity.
No,
Now,
it increases it.
that helps it break down faster.
It breaks down more. Yes, anyone could have figured it out, but for some reason they didn't. This photon, there are two types of photons. The Jews say it's interesting that there's the hidden light, that's space-time. You don't see any light, but you're inside it. You're inside the field of the wave. You can't not be inside it. So someone comes up to you and says, I'll pour a little Holy Spirit into you with a little jug. They're a fraud, because you can't pour in the Holy Spirit. I can string you along, but I can't actually pour the Holy Spirit into you because it's not a liquid. It doesn't work the way you imagine. No.
A liquid, sorry to interrupt, but just yesterday, a big super secret CIA document was released, and the super secret CIA document says that, well, every liquid is made of crystals. Now, I started thinking about how exactly they meant that.
They're talking about liquid crystals.
Well, yes, 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 this is the crystal.
Crystal structure, yes. And the pyramid has exactly this kind of structure, because the pyramid was built to tune the Earth's orbit.
But have you known this for decades? So when you saw how it looks and assembled it,
Then,
this is the CIA secret, the Marcos document, the mix.
secret? It's secret to him because he still doesn't know it even now, no matter how many times I explained it. You also have to understand it. I don't think I'm Mokos. I figured out the solution. It works. So, place the pencil and that's it. You can do it this way.
That specific one?
If I cut the pencil lengthwise or any other way, it works, but if I cut it crosswise, it doesn't. But I figured out how to do it so I can make a nice point like this. What's interesting is that
You apply this analogy to, say, physics, chemistry, or biology, it probably works there too.
yes, because monomethyl para-aminophenol sulfonate will work the same way. That's the photochemical called metal, or pentametadigallal beta-diglucose, which is, let's say, a type of sugar. Yeah, so how should I put it? You can apply this to chemistry too, but there you also have to start with hydrogen. What is hydrogen? That'll work.
The
The universe is basically still made up of hydrogen even now, and neutrons, which are also hydrogen. So a generated neutron becomes hydrogen, and both generated and non-generated neutrons, the generated neutron is hydrogen, you can build every atom from these two, the whole universe, everything.
Yes, the Big Bang too, as they tried to explain it, but that's pretty serious.
Exactly, you nailed it. It's nonsense because all the matter is there and all the energy is there. 10, 25 billion degrees hot and everything else
All in a single point.
in a single point. But of course, they didn't define energy. They don't know what light is. They don't know what matter is. But supposedly, any amount can be in one pile. Can you imagine a black hole bigger than this, one that contains the entire mass of the universe? Well, they don't even say it like this anymore, because even those who used to push this idea really hard have realized it's nonsense. And so now, well, first there will be pions, and then from the pions, atoms will form
Virtual particles, they appear quickly.
and vanish fast.
You can cheat with it, so to speak, in quotation marks. Sorry. So this is the kind of thing where we create a whole bunch of stuff at once so we can explain it later, and it disappears so quickly that, well, you don't even have to account for it.
You don't even have to account for it, of course.
So now,
Well, it would be about time for the physicists to get to work. Yes,
I tried to tell a couple of them, but they really don't get it.
they just forget. They don't even get what you want. I have physicist friends, though.
Now, if I show them this and tell them, look, you solder it together, check it really against two C2s, and it goes on a single wire, okay, on a single wire, then it's either static charge or a radio transmitter. Well, I say a radio transmitter can't do that. With aluminum foil, water, it just can't. It's a 1-volt voltage.
The radio signals go through everything.
Yes, only the 1 volt.
Voltage flows through even water.
It generates energy afterward without any loss. So that's not.
I'm sure there's some here, too. But maybe the loss is negative. Gain.
Yeah,
Bad.
let's say, how much of a problem?
But it needs something for the counterphase. Now I want to make a power supply like that.
Just these 4 adjust.
Yeah, but I want to make a power supply similar to this. Not this one, but a different kind. One that's as big as an AA battery.
So,
Like a tiny little AA battery. And it gives the output endlessly. It won't give direct current. If I start it, it gives alternating current. And it keeps going endlessly. So that's what I want to make now. And then you could put it in electric cars. That would be a huge deal. No lithium, no drama, no pollution. It could all be reduced. Just.
if you explain this like that and it really works well, they don't get it. They just don't get it at all. But
Even if it works, they still won't get it.
most likely,
Not. They can't even understand it, because then they'd be out of a job right away.
that's true too.
They can't understand it. And that's why I called them a prostitute. That's why I said it. Because of the job. You know, they've already taken out loans for the house and everything, so they can't play around with this anymore. They're boxed in. That's it.
The problem is you have to know that this isn't just electrical energy. It's part of creation itself. So if you develop it for that,
In the event that,
we could get our hands on the technology to put together what the Egyptians had, or, what the gods or deities of the Egyptians had. Then,
do you think there's fuel in a UFO?
well, I don't think so, but,
Door material, fuel. Well, there isn't. There isn't any.
well, gasoline, 95 octane gas. Probably not.
No, it doesn't stop to refuel. And then, I don't know, they said some nonsense like when there was that big blackout in New York, it was because a UFO stopped on a power line. Yeah,
Yeah.
just because of the 4D effect.
It completely powers itself down.
The whole thing goes to hell because with the 4D effect, there's no electricity there.
Right.
I experienced the exact same thing. Can you believe it? I experienced exactly the same thing. There were those
Mysterious crop circles.
We were there at the crop circles. They took me out there, tried to lure me into a trap, took me out like stupid UFO guy. We'll show you, we'll show you. Turns out, two dumb kids made it.
Did you bring a camera or what did you bring?
I did, yes. The camera I brought was a modern one for the time because it already advanced the film with a battery. I still have it. In Olympia, I still have that camera. It's just that film, well, you can't really get film for it anymore. They hardly sell film these days. I took photos from outside. The camera was good. I felt something new inside me. I went into the circle and took a shot because that part was mechanical, like in those old box cameras, about as primitive a little shutter as that. Like the plastic on the old box camera. Do you remember did you have a box camera?
My father put it up here, so.
Right? And inside there's this little flippin' piece. It gives you about 60 exposures. That little flippin' tin, it flashes a hole and that's it. And then there's also an aperture on it so you can set it like this with a bigger hole and a smaller hole.
Yeah, so that can get damaged pretty easily if it wants to, or, if it gets stuck.
Yeah, that can't really break. So the point is, the Pajatas camera would have worked, and I could have taken pictures with it. I'm not taking the Pajitas camera anymore. That was a big mistake. Because the Pajitas camera would have worked, but inside the crop circle, it wouldn't wind. Okay, but you can't just take the battery out and put it back in. The film is already loaded. But it had a new battery in it, so I left the crop circle.
And it improved.
And he started to roll on.
Yeah.
I'll take another photo, okay? And
Did you show it to anyone? Sure.
there were four of us, of course.
And what did they say?
Their camera stopped the same way. It was such a fancy, really good camera. Mine was a bit of a shady one, but theirs even measured blood pressure. It was a camera with everything on it, and the little screen disappeared on that one too. Yeah, it already had a screen and all, I'd never even seen one like that before. And then, wow, now that's a camera. And as soon as it went in halfway, the same thing happened. Now everything, as if all the batteries had died at once. That's just nonsense. Sure, a skeptic might say something like that, but it's just nonsense. All the batteries don't die at the same time, and all the batteries don't just start working again when you bring them out. Let me tell you something interesting. There are a bunch of these abduction cases where a guy is driving down the road in his car and suddenly a UFO shows up.
Yeah, the radio cuts out.
The car stops. The radio dies, the headlights go out, the engine shuts off, everything stops. And he gets out of the car.
Yeah, so people don't work the same way as electronics do.
So for sure, people don't operate with the same kind of electronics as a car or a radio or...
So,
It doesn't work with electrons like that. It works differently. That must be some kind of side effect that misled all of medical science.
and probably the tech industry too, because I think that regular electricity doesn't work the way.
It's not like that either.
Well, if they say that the electron is in a state of superposition, as phantom physics claims, then that's nonsense. Yeah.
Yeah,
From ti-
it's time too.
Well, from time as well. If I examine a material, I can say it has some kind of energy structure, which is dynamic and can be shaped with different solutions. But I can't say that it only goes in that direction or that it goes that strongly or whatever. That depends on how we use it, right? Yeah.
So,
So maybe there could be something like that in it. So,
everything has to be redesigned. Physicists can't just do their work. Maybe they'll even lose their job if they start following me, because for sure they'll get fired. They've already said things like this at universities, even here at the Technical University. The people like Egili and Kisfaludy, for example.
they say to me too, by the way, that my lectures are like a Gailey's. Well, I say, if you're not talking nonsense and it works, then if I say the same thing and it works, what's the problem? There was,
At our place, György Kisfaludy came to give a lecture at our camp. I started talking about UFOs, about how there's no fuel in them. So what makes them go? You know what's crazy? They don't even go.
it just moves itself over.
It doesn't even move. You can drive it while standing still, so there's no acceleration or deceleration. It can do spatial movement, and then there's acceleration and deceleration. But otherwise, there isn't. It's here, then it's there, then it's over there, and over there. And that's what people don't understand. Or, well, there are some who, I know.
Some suspect it, but in America, they say, well, you see the UFO, it doesn't have wings, it doesn't have rockets, right? Well, yeah, right. So it doesn't have any? Yes, that's real. But then we don't know how it could work. Oh, but we do.
It works with a single quantum of light. Just imagine.
It synchronizes
All the atoms, yes. It works with a single piece of spacetime, a spacetime light quantum, not with the regular signal, but with the spacetime light quantum. That's what it generates. So,
here is the light quantum.
yes,
So the outer part is included too?
of course, it's always included.
Inner part, that's the photon,
A photon can only persist in spacetime.
because
It requires the geometry of spacetime. What is a propagating wave field? That's spacetime. It's not a coordinate system like the one they explain here.
they transfer it today. If you synchronize the UFO, then this
Too.
sense.
Yes, it has to synchronize everything in order to be able to relocate it. Otherwise, whatever isn't synchronized stays behind. You're in big trouble if the rear part of the new craft isn't synchronized. If you make a jump, you'll end up in outer space because you're moving fast and there's not much air in space, so you'll be in serious trouble.
What do you mean by synchronization? There's one shape and then you have to.
Transform it. Out of the 11 parallel universes, we will be able to move into the 11th. The 11 parallel universes are depicted on the Holy Crown. There are 11 little four-petaled flowers next to St. Peter's head on one side and 11 on the other side. Why? There's a dimensional step here, and there's a dimensional step there as well. It's an 11th step dimensional ladder. This essentially means that this profound scientific knowledge was already present. How exactly do parallel universes work in reality? Right now, they are just starting to truly grapple with the complexities of the concept. Academician Sakharov wrote extensively on this very subject.
He wrote about it.
Sakharov, the one who made the atomic bomb and produced the hydrogen bomb for the Russians, wrote about it. And he described parallel universes. And so did Wheeler, who was a university physics professor. Once, he even wrote about parallel universes and about non-space, non-time. So in that, spaceships don't move through space, because for physicists, acceleration and deceleration always happen in space, and they're right about that.
How does it know where it needs to go so that it's right in front of it?
It has a very precise synchronization system. It synchronizes the entire spaceship with a parallel universe. You send out a probe to check if you can go there. Then the probe says, yes, everything's okay around me, and then it goes there. It keeps going until it reaches an empty layer. This is the no space, no time layer. It works like this: 11, no space, no time; 5, no space, no time; 11, no space, no time; 5. These are the parallel boosters, and by shifting them like this, you can describe the three phases as the three diamonds. You know, the three diamonds.
So then what?
Needs it? No, this is what carries the parallel universes.
Could this be the same thing that quantum physicists talk about? Quantum fluctuation, and then between two quantum fields, there's something. We don't know what it is.
We don't know everything about it. Of course we don't. Or maybe we do.
But it's really interesting that quantum theory dates back to the 1920s, something like that, right? And it hasn't really been developed much further. So quantum entanglement isn't such a new phenomenon either.
Quantum entanglement works. I did it here. It works. Well, here, it worked all the way to the street corner. The one where the oscillator didn't even work for me outside the room. But down there, it worked with that method out on the street. And then there was construction going on everything, and the kids tore it apart like a monkey tears apart a pocket watch. Well, whatever, but it worked. That's the main thing.
I saw one of these working, and I was really happy. Ukrainians put this together.
Well, I gave a lecture about it to the Ukrainians, and the best academics were sitting there. Academics from Kiev were sitting at my lecture.
Can you imagine?
And not one of them said I was talking nonsense.
No, but they're trying to present and sell this as if it's something new. So it's like if they had found it 2 or 3 months ago, like, wow, here it is, and now I can sell it to you for $2 or $3 million if you're interested.
That's right.
These are old things.
It's a scam.
Yeah, yeah. But it was interesting that he locked it in the safe and it still worked. Yeah, these are interesting things. Well, obviously,
If it works in a cabinet, it works everywhere.
yeah.
It's not stealing radio waves or anything like that. Let's forget about these things. So when there are no ideas, people just talk nonsense. I know this. I know it for sure. I've experienced it.
If these are longitudinal waves and sound travels like you say.
Yes.
And also, could it be that this energetics or energy itself and sound are actually the same thing? So maybe we shouldn't make a distinction?
No, sound is very different. That's already the vibration of atoms. The sound he's talking about, those are gravitational waves, the waves of existence. But the wave of existence is not an electromagnetic wave. It's a wave, sure, but not an electromagnetic wave. It's a wave of existence. And we're talking about a very complex, structured system of time.
But sound also has a basis for existence, right?
Of course, absolutely. But sound needs a medium to exist in.
Of course.
So here you need air, for example, and with
Not for life wave.
or water or metal or whatever it might be. But for waves of existence, you don't need a medium. Existence itself propagates in these layered waves. I can describe it, even down to the tiniest details. I can explain exactly how it works. By the way, if you look up there, that's space-time. That's space-time right there. This is also space-time, right above your head, of course. Six-source space-time.
They just recently conducted a very interesting experiment. I think it was actually in China where they created quantum entanglement, but with some kind of optical trick. I don't know. That's not the point. The point is that the yin yang symbol appeared, and you were telling me.
We did that, of course. If we turned the camera upside down, the TV still had a delta picture tube, and the VCR used tapes. I did it with my friend.
But thousands of people saw those broadcasts.
Of course.
So how is it that afterwards people say that?
No, they don't do it. Or someone does it afterwards and it really works. That's all.
So in the end, you feel the signal back, right? I mean,
Yes, but with a delay.
uh-huh, uh-huh.
And it was really interesting. Oh, it was a really fascinating experiment. We spent the whole night messing around here. We could only do it at night because it needed darkness. Really dark.
Did it feel like it was alive? Can I ask?
It did feel like it was alive, yes. So I reached out to it. On the screen, there was this blob that was moving around, swirling all over the place. I reached out to it with my finger, and it pulled its belly in. It even jumped to the other side of the screen, like it was alive.
What's interesting about this energy thing is if it's true, right now it's just a theory, a good theory. If you connect an ammeter or a voltmeter to it, so an ammeter or a voltmeter, then its energy changes. If I don't pay attention to how it works, then it's just fine. It's doing well. It doesn't do anything. But if I start examining what it's doing, then it says, I'm doing it right.
Yes, this is still because, as I said, even a single quantum of light is conscious. Well, plants are conscious too. So you think it doesn't recognize me? This plant recognizes me. And if something's wrong with me, something's wrong with it too, because it loves me. I bring it water, food, I give it new soil. It sees that I take care of it, and it takes care of me too. It blooms beautifully, and
It makes sense for a living being, yet it's strange seeing this in a technical device too.
consciousness exists even in a quantum of light, and it's very smart. Basically, almost all the knowledge of the universe is contained in it.
But explain it to a physicist.
But even if I explain it in detail, they still don't quite understand how the N perturbation set works. There was a brilliant Hungarian emigre who worked on this for years. He specifically focused his research on the complexities of set perturbations.
That.
Yes,
All right, well now,
he came from Switzerland, right from near the Hungaro spot.
thank you for watching this video. If you find it interesting and valuable, subscribe to the channel. Subscribing is completely free. Don't forget to turn on the little bell button so you get notifications about new videos. And if you want to watch videos from György Kisfaludy, I recommend the AI-XTECH YouTube channel. Thank you. Bye. And of course, wishing you a long and successful life.